Hey everyone, let's talk a little bit about Tanaan Jungle because as of the most recent PTR update, it seems like they've actually shoved in essentially the full gearing system, and it's definitely worth having a bit of a chat about because it's a bit of a hybrid between some of the stuff they've been doing with Warlords of Draenor and then also the Timeless Isle system that we got back in 5.4. And it seems like this is pretty final. Yeah, it could all change within the blink of a single PTR build, but for some reason I just don't think that's particularly likely. Basically, what they've done is they've made Apexis crystals and timeless coins kind of the same thing in a way, and most of your gearing is going to be surrounding them. They've changed stuff up slightly, but in a very meaningful way as of this build, and it's definitely a bit better than it was last time. So first of all, we've got a vendor to check out, and we've got this guy here, Dawn Seeker, Krisek, or whatever. So when we talk to him, you see there is a bunch of stuff going on. Baleful gear. Now, what is Baleful gear? Basically, it's eye level 650. When you click on it, it gives you a random bit of gear. So it's a bit like the timeless gear that you got in Pandaria, or perhaps some of that garrison token gear that you'd get. It's got randomized stats, and it can actually proc up to eye level 670. But that's not the only way to get this Baleful stuff. No. You can get it from killing rares in Tanaan Jungle. Remember the way previously in the last build, the rares would drop, I think, 655? Blues? Well, they still drop them, but they also drop these Baleful bits of gear. And let me tell you, it's like you are just being showered with these Baleful spaulders, and well, not the spaulders specifically, just tokens everywhere. There are tokens coming out of everything's butt. They're all over you. They're just tokens. It's insane. I mean, in the span of doing one Apexis mission in Tanaan, I got 5 tokens, 5 bits of 650 gear. The pacing is currently very fast. Now, what's also kind of interesting about this Baleful stuff is it covers every single slot on your character, which is it's a lot of slots that are covered. I think that's definitely a little bit odd. You can deck yourself out completely, including trinkets and weapons. Now, back in the Timeless Isle, Blizzard actually said that one of the reasons why the weapons were a bit more expensive and off a separate vendor is they thought weapons and things like that were maybe a little bit more special. Well, hell no, in this you can just flat out purchase the weapons. I don't know if I said it already, but these can proc up to item level 670 when you click on them, and while I do have a bunch of available missions here on this character, I've already done a full day's worth of Tanaan on my PTR Paladin. So there's that going on with this Baleful gear, but more importantly, you can upgrade it. You can upgrade it using one of these, an empowered Apexis fragment. It basically, from the way that I read it, it upgrades one of the Baleful items to 695 and not one of the Baleful tokens. That's really good. There was this issue where, you know, Burdens of Eternity, you'd use them on a bit of timeless gear and then you just want to punch a wall because it would be the complete, you'd get, I don't know, completely dogshit stats what, plus 1,000 hit, when really hit was not something that you really needed at that stage. So it's a bit nice that you got more control over that, but overall, what I think needs to be taken into account here is how damn quick all of this stuff is, and I'll probably intercut some footage of my progression on the Paladin, but let's talk a little bit about how you actually get the Apexis gear, because, well, it's changed a little bit. So first of all, if I head in here, there's Yeril. Hello, Yeril. You have got... Oh, she wants me to go to the shipyard. Interesting. Weird, that might be a garrison campaign. Anyway, the garrison campaign stuff gives you a little bit of oil and things like that. Now, you've got your battle plans here, so if I were to do, say, the Temple of Shannara, completing that would give me 2,000 Apexis crystals and 600 oil, which is all fine and dandy, but there's a new system that they've added, because this guy also gives me a quest, and it's called Unknowable Power. Basically, the rares in Tanaan Jungle drop these things called corrupted Apexis fragments. Now, if you kill one of them initially for this quest, you get your fragment, you turn it into this guy, boom, 1,500 Apexis crystals. After that, you get a daily quest. So, technically, there is a daily coming back, and that daily is to get 5 of those corrupted Apexis fragments by killing 5 rares. So, essentially, the main gameplay of Tanaan Jungle has shifted a little bit into kind of hunting down rares, killing them, and then also doing your Apexis missions. Alright, so I was going to record the rest of this video live doing some Apexis stuff, but you know what? I don't think it's actually very fun to watch, so I'm going to do it post-commentary, and you'll see a lot of footage, both from the Hunter and the Paladin, of the general progression that's going on in Tanaan Jungle. And in this bit of the video, I'm just going to talk about my overall thoughts on the system, and just some of the pros, some of the cons, and general things like that. So, first of all, I'll just go over completely so you know what the crack is, what's going on with Apexis crystals and how you get them. There's 2,000 a day from your regular Apexis mission in Tanaan Jungle. There's then 800 or 1,000 per day from your Garrison Town Hall. There's 800 per missive that you do. And then also there are the new quests for killing rare mobs, in which you kill 5 rare mobs. Each one will drop a Fel-corrupted Apexis fragment, and then turning 5 of those in will give you 1,500 Apexis crystals once per day. So via your basic Tanaan content, you're going to get 3,500 of them, and well, you can get more if you want to go do your garrison missives and various other things like that. Also, mobs drop crystals. They drop a few each, maybe similar to Timeless Coins, though I think overall a little bit less than with Timeless Coins. However, I've got to imagine that we will be in a situation where people are kind of gulp frog grinding in Tanaan Jungle just to get more gear, because the Baleful gear covers every single slot in your character. So if you're there on a fresh alt, you can get yourself up to item level 650 purely in the Tanaan Jungle. Now, there is another place that you can get the Baleful gear from, and that's your Garrison Shipyard, and the difference about from the Shipyard is that the Baleful tokens from the tokens themselves, are actually going to be bind on accounts. So while your Shipyard stuff is BOA token based, it's it's bind on character in Tanaan Jungle. And I do like the way that you can get them in both. I think if they were only a thing that happens in the Shipyard, then, well, it would kind of be taken away from world content. And it does seem like they are sort of, not that they're minimizing the Shipyard, but there's still a lot to do in Tanaan in terms of your gear progression, which I suppose is good, but I think overall it's actually a little bit too fast. You can gear up a character in Tanaan Jungle very, very quickly because of the rate that these Baleful bits of gear actually drop from regular mobs, and I've got to say, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to flat out purchase Baleful tokens. Basically, it's about 5,000 Apexis crystals for a Baleful token, and 20,000 for one of the items that upgrades your Baleful item to 695. So what you're better to do is to head out into Tanaan and just slaughter rares. I think there's around 50 rares in total in the Tanaan Jungle, so there's plenty of them, and they can drop like Baleful items on the sort of second time that you kill them. Basically, it seems like it's 100% drop rate the first kill, and then it goes to something a little bit lower after that. Also, in addition to that Baleful gear, there's still other gear in Tanaan. You get, I think, 655 gear from killing a load of the rares anyway. They just drop regular 655 bits of gear in addition to this, the Baleful things, and also the treasures will give you 650s. Plus, the Baleful gear can proc to item level 670 just by clicking on the token. You can then, of course, upgrade them to 695 if you really want to. So overall, your gameplay is basically go into Tanaan, find the rares, slaughter them all, and then after you've got a full set of Baleful gear, worry about Apexis farming after that. It's certainly going to be a very busy week, and if you've got a lot of alts, there will be a lot of gameplay to do in the Tanaan Jungle. The question, of course, is the quality of that gameplay good, and have they designed things in a way that's sort of grindier, will burn people out? Well, I think while a lot of us have got a problem with Apexis missions, if you objectively look at things, it is in a better state than the Timeless Isle. The Timeless Isle was very shiny and new, but ultimately a lot of the gearing of the Timeless Isle was go kill gulp frogs. And then, of course, you did get your big influx of gear at the very start when you were going around opening all of the chests. Now, the chest opening stuff was fun. I suppose it's analogous to the treasures now, but I think overall, the sort of rare hunting and Apexis stuff of Tanaan Jungle is, I'd say on paper, a bit better than the general gearing of the Timeless Isle. One pro that the Timeless Isle had, though, is it was a bit wacky. It had all that crazy-ass time stuff going on, and there are really cool little events in Tanaan as well. It just feels like they were maybe higher in quantity and also more just in density in the Timeless Isle, and I suppose as time goes on, we'll probably find more cool things in Tanaan. There's just something about the Timeless Isle that felt a bit more jovial and fun, or in some ways, as opposed to Tanaan. But still, I'd say on paper, yeah, you do have better content. However, if you don't like Apexis missions, then you are, I think, in many ways completely out of luck, because it is Apexis missions again. There's no getting around that fact. I think they're better because they're located in a better zone, and you do have little things you can click on, you know, like bombs or maybe a scroll which gives you maybe heroism for a minute. You've got cool little things like that, and of course you also get to use your garrison outpost abilities in Tanaan, so there's lots of nice little things going on there, but fundamentally they are the same thing. Now, the rare hunting, I think, is definitely a good pro. I like the idea of going out and hunting rares. I think it involves exploring, moving around the world, and you're actively sort of seeking something out rather than just sort of hitting buttons and watching a bar slowly fill up. I think that's good, and I like how there's definitely a hefty reward placed on that. However, I would say that the rares are very easy to kill, especially since you get access to all of your garrison abilities. Now, if you head in there with eye level 590 gear from your leveling, yeah, it'll be pretty tricky, but if you've done like any content at all since the launch of the game, it should be decently trivial. On a 650 character, it wasn't that hard, and because you will be able to use, say, your artillery barrage, a lot of the sort of lower hanging fruit rares will be pretty easy to kill. What I would say is they should put in large rares. They're a bit more world event based, like what they were doing with patch 5.3. I'd love it if there was big rares, like say a Fell Reaver that would just roam across the map and would maybe require, say, 10 people to kill. I think stuff like that could have been really, really cool. Just a bit more of a dynamic system, I suppose. And also maybe rares that took a bit of inspiration from Diablo with more abilities and things like that. So they could do rares better, honestly, but it's still nice that rare hunting is a major part of the gameplay. I think overall with these, I'm a bit concerned about the speed because you can get up to loads of item level 670 bits of gear in not that much time. In the course of doing one Apexis mission, just from mob drops and rare drops alone on my paladin, I got 5 bits of Baleful gear, and I only killed 2 rares during that period of time. I then headed off, killed 3 more rares for that quest, and got 3 more bits of Baleful gear, as well as 2 eye level 655 bits of gear. Like, they are throwing gear at you like nothing else. It's pretty crazy. Okay, I suppose it's not as fast as the 496s that you got from the Timeless Isle, but certainly there's a lot of upgrade potential here. And speaking of the upgrade potential, it's going to cost you 20,000 Apexis crystals per slot, and you've got, what, 17 slots? And every single slot can be filled with Baleful gear and therefore can be upgraded to 695. So I think that could promote some pretty unhealthy gameplay for a lot of people. Certainly, it's probably more healthy than just grinding gulp frogs for like 8 days straight, if that's really something that people did. I don't know if it was, because, well, LFR was a thing, and the same is the case here, but, you know, you're going to be doing a lot of Apexis missions. If you want to, say, upgrade 5 or 6 of your slots with 695 Baleful gear, that's going to be 100, 120k Apexis crystals. They're a lot faster to get now, but still, that's a lot of missions, and the old Apexis missions still exist. That means you could, say, blow 10,000 garrison resources in missives and still do that content to progress in patch 6.2, and, like, okay, it's fair enough that you're still able to do that content and that it helps, but I just worry that it promotes a bit of an atmosphere where people pop in and get burnt out after 2 weeks. Certainly though, like with the Timeless Isle, I think it will be a decent amount of fun heading here on a fresh alt and just having a fun sort of few days of leveling up. But again, that's just a few days. World of Warcraft has got to be a game that is fun for longer than a single month if you're not a raider. And I don't think Tanaan Jungle does that. They just need some stuff that gives a bit more tail end in the endgame. Plus, as well, the upgraded Baleful gear is actually better than the gear that drops off the non-final bosses of the Mythic Dungeons. I think that's a little bit odd, honestly, but that said, Mythic Dungeons aren't really that mythic. Right now, they're about as hard as the Heroic Dungeons were, assuming you have the correct gear level back at the start of WoD. It's a bit odd, but we will see how that pans out, because I think they're going to be doing some additions to it. Anyway, that's basically it for all I want to cover today. It's an interesting enough system. We'll have to see how it pans out. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I don't think it's the best thing ever. And we'll need to see. Hopefully they put something cool in the Throne of the Elements that really excites me. And certainly, if they want people's main characters to care about any of this content, they need to be thinking about mounts, they need to be thinking about transmog, and other rewards such as those. Right now, I don't know how much of that's really in at the minute. I'd like some of that. I'd like to be able to go here on my main hunter and actually get something cool. So hopefully that happens. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.